What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 541 here today of #AskGSM, the post-WrestleMania episode for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, a very tired Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. So much to talk about from WrestleMania weekend, probably not here on the show today. We'll get into more of it on WrestleRant Radio tomorrow. An amazing experience in Philadelphia over the course of a couple days from Thursday through, I got in there Wednesday night, but through Thursday, from Thursday through Monday. From Raw, the 2 nights of WrestleMania. Didn't get a chance to check out NXT, but I did WrestleCon. I was at SmackDown, the Hall of Fame on Friday. Did the media stuff. Checked out a lot of the on-location events that they have with On Location, the new partnership that they have with that company. Allowed me to go ringside at WrestleMania. Not sit at ringside, but check out literally ringside and the stage right before showtime, which was pretty fucking cool. So it was an awesome time. A lot of footage still to be uploaded here to the channel from my trip. So keep an eye out for that. We haven't had a lot of videos going up in the last couple of days just because I was so busy, but I'm hoping to get back on track and kind of catch up on everything in the coming weeks. And that is not I did not misspeak there. It is definitely coming weeks. It usually takes a long time to kind of catch up on everything from WrestleMania week and beyond, whether it be reviews or podcasts, shows, whatever. So it's going to take a while, so bear with me, but we should be all caught up. Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll see. Hopefully by draft time in 2 weeks. But before then, though, we got a lot of questions to get into from the weekend that you guys sent in through Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, per usual. If you want to send in a question to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section in this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Let's get right into it here, starting with hand sanitizer 1963 from YouTube. Their question was, they say, when I was young, I remember always wondering if weapons were real, how they got blood through matches, etc. Is there anything in wrestling or WWE that you are still wondering how they do that? Even though I'm sure you know how almost every aspect of a match or backstage or anything is done. And if not, when you got into wrestling, what was the most surprising thing for you after finding out that's how it's done? It's a good question. No, I will never 100% know how everything is done in time, unless I'm in the business, as far as like being a wrestler or whatever. So there's a lot I definitely do not know. As far as stuff I'm still curious about, it's not really something I'm curious about, but I always wondered for a very long time, up until this day, why they don't wear cups. Like, the guys don't wear cups. Like, that to me just doesn't make sense. Just because your bottom half is very much a risk of, I'm surprised more people don't get hurt down there is my point. With like all the landing on the ropes and people landing right on top of you and stuff like that. Maybe some of them do, maybe some of them don't. I don't know. I've never asked the wrestler that question. It kind of feels weird. But it's something I've always been curious about, because you would obviously be relegated to wear a cup in like baseball, football. I've never played football, but I would imagine that's the case there as well. Pretty much any other sport, so why not wrestling? And as far as dumb as it sounds, it's like, does it just not look good on TV or something? Because they're wearing like skin-tight clothing with these trunks and whatever. So maybe that's the case, or maybe it would just fall out, like the cup itself, that is, as far as because they're constantly moving. I'm not exactly sure, but that was something I was always curious about. That's not exactly, I wonder how it's done type thing, just kind of just something I was always wondering, like, how do they not get more hurt? I guess just in general, too, with stuff like that. Like, how do they not get more hurt on certain moves? Like, when Toni Storm, for example, does the hip check in the corner, that I'm sure a lot of people would sign up to take, when she does that move, and their fucking neck whips back on the corner, how do they not get more hurt off of that? I've always wondered that. Like, is there a certain execution to it? Because they show it pretty close up, and it looks like she gets all of it. And her hips, like, her backside really fucking smashes into that person. So, I don't know. But I always thought that was fascinating. But yeah, when I got into it 16 years ago, I wasn't one of those people that was like, oh man, it's real. And I was heartbroken when I found out it wasn't real. It was something that was always ingrained in my mind that it wasn't real. So when I got into it in 2008, I'm 28 now. I started watching wrestling. The anniversary is actually this weekend on Sunday. And that would have been 16 years ago. So 12 years old, I guess. 16 minus 12. No, 28 rather. I'm such a fucking idiot. 28 minus 16 would be 12. So I guess I got into it when I was 12. Almost 13. There wasn't really a whole lot that I was like surprised by that I was like, oh man, this is like so shocking. There were certain things I did think were real. Like I was pretty heartbroken when I found out that the Batista thing from that summer on Raw when the fan ran by and did the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do and like ran by Batista backstage. I was heartbroken when I found out that wasn't real. That's not exactly an industry thing, but no, that's a good question. There's really nothing else that comes to mind, but that is a good question though. Your second question, this is kind of a longer one. He said, I hope it's okay if I ask another question. Of course it is. That question was, does WWE have a problem now boosting young talent to be up there in terms of storylines and matches? I felt back in the 2000s and before, we had young talent come up and stay up there after having their young big boost. I feel like a lot of wrestlers that are up there in the company are older and they waited a long time to give them their props that they earned. It could have really helped the roster to be stronger. Cody, Drew could have been great way younger. Keith Lee got wasted maybe since he was younger and coming up. Where are the Jerichos, Batistas, Ortons? Also, can we stop giving wrestlers one title reign and pushing them aside like Big E, Lashley, Strowman, etc.? It should feel like wrestlers of these kinds of wrestlers should have a chance of winning or competing for the main title at any time, not just at their hype. Sorry for the long question. Have been kind of frustrated with how they do title runs lately with guys who never held it. And sorry if I'm incorrect with some because I was in and out of WWE for a while. Much love. Now, that's another excellent question. And I do largely agree with that. They have been pushing a lot of people in the last decade, I would say, at a older age. I mean, Damian Priest is, 41? He just won his first world championship, as he should. I mean, the guy's great. It could have happened a couple of years ago, though. Damian Priest, when he first came up, he was 37, 38 even then. But, they're getting these guys way too late. There's a lot that goes into your question. I don't have a ton of time to answer every little aspect of it, but you make a great point. Even AJ Styles they brought in when he was amazing, and the guy's still great, obviously, when he was late 30s. Why didn't you bring in AJ Styles even a couple years earlier? They could have brought him in late 2013, early 2014 when he left TNA. They just chose not to. Now the time in New Japan really benefited him. Same thing with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. They were great even a decade ago. We were all calling for them to be world champion a decade ago, and they dropped the ball. Now, would their journeys have been as great without all the independent work and going to TNA and AEW and stuff like that? No. But they could have been top guys. I mean, you could say the same thing with Braun Breaker. If Braun Breaker got cut tomorrow, went to AEW, TNA, whatever, really kind of built up a great resume of matches for himself and then came back, he would be even better than he is now. But that doesn't mean you can't push him now, though. I mean, he shouldn't be world champion tomorrow. But, I feel like they're kind of getting back to that. What you're talking about, I completely agree. Now, there are cases of them pushing people way too young. But I feel like they are getting back to people, bringing in people at a younger age and not dropping the ball on them, though, so early. And I think that's a product of the Triple H era, to be perfectly honest with you. Hopefully we're at a point now with Triple H being in charge where it's not like, oh, he didn't really see the value in them initially, so he's going to let them go somewhere else and then bring them back. Hopefully he pushes them when everyone else sees the value and doesn't let it get to that point where he lets them go and has to bring them back. People like Adam Cole are pretty young. He's only 30-something years old. He could have been one of those guys that you're talking about where, actually Triple H is already having issues with that, which I'll get to in a second. But Adam Cole could have been one of those guys a few years ago. He's on the younger side. He could have been one of the top guys right now if he was in charge. Triple H was in charge at the time when his contract came up in 2021. But Triple H, not to be completely like, oh, it's all Vince's fault. Even Triple H, to a certain extent, is already kind of having issues with that. Not people on his current roster, but Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay's only 30-something years old. If you want to push younger guys that are good right now, or can be a main event star soon, it's a guy like that, or an Okada. Now, in his defense, it sounded like regardless of how much amount of money they throw at them, they did not want to move to the States. And if they are in the States, I think Okada's in the States now, there were a lot of pros to going to AEW, reduced schedule, and a lot of other things. I know Triple H kind of took a shot at those sort of people in that recent Pat McAfee interview on WWE World. But, beyond that, though, it sounded like, he didn't really... I don't know. No, it's not that he didn't see the value. I don't know. I just feel like the pros outweigh the cons for them coming to WWE. But he needs to do a better job of bringing these people in earlier, not waiting until they're in the latter end of their career. Eli Drake, LA Knight, should have been in WWE fucking 10 years ago. He was and he got fired, but they should have brought him back and started pushing him at a higher level 10 years ago. That's the sort of thing they could be doing a better job of. So you are right. To a certain extent, I think they could be doing a better job of pushing these people when they're in their prime and not waiting until they're 40 years old. The people that you mentioned as far as the title reigns go, that's a kind of a separate question. Like the Big E's and the Lashleys, the Strowmans. I don't like that either, where they only get like one title run and that's it, and they're not really a believable main eventer or a main event player after the run is over. Lashley is a believable main event player. Lashley is a now 2-time WWE World Champion. He has not held gold since, but he is a 2-time World Champion. He is on a higher level than Big E and Strowman. Big E obviously got hurt 2 years ago, but Big E very quickly after losing the WWE title was right back to being just another guy in the New Day. So even if he wasn't hurt, I doubt he would be any higher on the card than he is right now. Maybe with Triple H, or than he would have been before he got hurt. Maybe Triple H being in charge would have helped with that. Maybe, perhaps. But I feel like he probably just would have been another mid-card guy. Strowman, same thing. He was a one and done, but they put the belt on him a lot later than they should have. He's kind of not cooked, but it's like there's a lot of other people I would rather see the World Championship on than him. Lashley, like I already talked about him, but like even a Jinder Mahal should have never been champion in the first place. Kofi Kingston should have been a main event player after having Kofi Mania in 2019. Instead, they reduced him right back to mid-card level, and he's a guy that can be at the top end of the level, the top end of the card. Maybe not all the time, and not being a 7-time world champion, but he should be higher up on the card than he's doing right now. He's just doing the typical New Day shit, you know? They could be doing a better job of that, and hopefully going forward, they do a better job of that. And Cody, for example, is not a one-time champion. Damien's not a one-time champion. They lose it, and we never see them at that level again. Hopefully that is, I mean, it's better to win it than not to not win it at all, but hopefully that's not the case with them. Definitely not Damian Priest. Cody thing is fine. Damien I'm a bit more worried about because he might be just a guy where it's a one and done, cash in, become champion. That's it for him. But I think he is capable of being a top-end guy on the show if they push him properly and don't drop the ball on his title run. Next question from Jordan B. from YouTube. Their first question was, do you see WWE continuing with the pairing of Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker on the main roster or just stop it when they lose the NXT Tag Team titles? It's funny that you mentioned that. You sent that in, I think, 5 days ago. They just lost the NXT Tag Team titles last night to Nathan Frazer and Axiom. They had their match on Sunday, or rather Saturday, at Stand and Deliver. Breaker and Corbin won, which was surprising because Corbin's an NXT guy right now, but Braun Breaker is officially on the main roster. He signed with SmackDown like a month or two ago, so didn't make a whole lot of sense they retained there, only to lose it a couple days later, but, it was a good match, nice moment, whatever. Braun Breaker is indeed done in NXT. That was it for him. That was his swan song, said goodbye to the NXT universe, audience, whatever, after the show is over. I think they put it up online. I haven't seen it yet. But no, I don't think there's any real reason to bring that to SmackDown. Breaker's got a much higher ceiling than the Baron Corbin tag team. They work very well together. I'm not saying they can't eventually reunite or rekindle their feud on the main roster at some point down the road. Corbin, there's not a whole lot more he can do in NXT because he's been there for a while. He's challenged for the NXT Championship a few times, lost both times, just lost the NXT Tag Team titles. Won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, whatever. I don't really know what more you do with him, but Braun Breaker should be on the main roster, doing his own thing for a while. You can saddle him in a tag team down the road. Not right now, though, with the momentum that he has. They're already doing not a whole lot with him on the main roster. Putting him in just another team where he's probably not going to win the tag titles anyway is not what I would do. So, no, I would have him do his own thing going forward. Chris W. from YouTube, their first question was, he says, hey, Graham, hope you had an awesome time at both WrestleManias and are having a great week so far. It sucks we didn't get to meet on Sunday in Philly. Maybe some other time. I had an awesome time for my first WrestleMania, and everything about the main event, from the video package to the entrances to the ending, was downright perfectly done. And the roar from the crowd when Cody won the belt was something I hadn't heard since Omega vs. Danielson at the first Arthur Ashe show for AEW. Which night was your favorite of the two, and which match was your favorite and least favorite matches from both shows? Yeah, before I even get into your question, I am bummed we didn't have a chance to meet up. I was at the show both nights, but I was running around so much, specifically on night 2. Once I went to the press box, I think you could leave. I'm not exactly sure. I heard you couldn't. I was busy working anyway, so I couldn't exactly leave if I wanted to. I was hoping to get to the arena nice and early on night 2, so we would have enough time to kind of hang out and, I say tailgate, but I'm not going to fucking drink or anything, but just chill out and stuff before the show started. And I didn't even have a chance to do that. I had to be at the arena earlier than I was supposed to do some other work stuff. So, great time, but I am bummed I didn't meet you. If you're from the Northeast, which it sounds like you are, I think you've said that before, if you were at the Arthur Ashe show for AEW a couple of years ago, then we'll definitely meet up at some point. I'm sure somewhere at some point in the not too distant future. But as far as your question goes, an overall great show. Night 2 is definitely better than night 1. Night 1 was good. Pretty good. Night 2 was even better. Night 2 was awesome. That main event was perfect. Love the main event. Really enjoyed the opening stuff with Drew and Seth and Punk and Priest cashing in Money in the Bank to become World Heavyweight Champion. My favorite night was obviously Night 2. My favorite match from Night 1 and Night 2. Night 2 was definitely the main event, Cody and Roman, my favorite match of the weekend. My favorite match from Night 1, probably the tag team main event. I thought Rhea and Becky was great too. Probably the tag team main event though. My least favorite match from each show, Night 2, probably the 6-man tag team match, but even that was exactly what it needed to be, with the Profits and Lashley versus Final Testament. It was a good match. It was fun. The other matches I thought were better. I thought the overall show was actually great. No bad matches in the entire show for Night 2. Night 1, not exactly a bad match, but Jay and Jimmy was not that good. Very disappointing, very middle-of-the-road, mediocre match. For a match they've been building to for a while, that was underwhelming. So easily my least favorite match of not only Night 1, but the entire WrestleMania weekend for Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania. Your second question, while I respect Shawn Michaels' approach to the Roxanne Perez heel turn and the build-up to it, I feel my opinion is that she just doesn't feel wholly convincing in the part. When she gets mad, she looks like an angsty teenager instead of someone who should be seen as a legit threat to the baby faces. I like her new version of her theme, as it adds a mean nature to her. But overall, even though I think that she was in need of a character change, I feel the execution has not only been that great. I just feel the execution has not been yet that great, is what he said. What do you think? I've liked it so far. I think Roxanne's actually a really good heel. I do understand what you're saying, though, as far as she's not all that believable in the role with like some of her facial expressions. Some of that went viral amongst wrestling fans the other day when she came up for her Raw debut. Like some of her facial expressions when she first came out were a bit goofy. She needs to work on that. She's still trying to find her footing in the role. She just turned heel not too long ago. I like the aggressive mean streak. She is a really good heel, a much better heel than I thought she would be considering how natural of a babyface she is. But she's been a good heel so far. I've enjoyed her work in the ring. That really hasn't changed. Her promos have improved as well on both babyface and heel aspects. Her promos were really not her strong suit a year ago. But she's improved with that a lot in the last year, which is great to see. But, I've enjoyed the heel run, but she definitely has some work to do as far as making it work, making it convincing. If she goes to the main roster soon, and it sounds like she will, then I don't really know if she's going to be a babyface when she gets called up or a heel. It would make sense for her to be a heel if they want to just seamlessly transition her to the main roster from what she's doing right now. If not, and she's going to be a babyface, that's also fine as well. And they can start from scratch. But she's a good heel, better babyface, but she's actually better in the heel role than I thought she would be, so credit to her for that. Your next question. With Adam Copeland and Malachi Black teasing a feud for the TNT Championship, it seems my prediction of Konosuke Takeshita winning the belt may not be in the cards right now because by placing Malachi in a title shot, he says, hopefully double or nothing, you're putting yourself in a tough situation where he needs a guaranteed win, is what you said. Not saying Copeland needs the title, but after wanting the belt since he got there, it would make sense for him to have a long title run. As for Takeshita, I think Malachi and Adam could continue the feud through All In, and where they finally get to All Out in Chi-Town, we get a triple threat and for the belt, and Konosuke pins Copeland after a tremendous match, and Takeshita becomes champion. Do you think the combining of two stories into this one title helps elevate the title and makes it more must-see, and do you think it should sell, or should rather still all lead to Konosuke winning the belt? I've said this before, but I think Konosuke should get gold. I agree with you on that. It doesn't necessarily need to be the TNT Championship, though. You have the International Championship, and you have the other one, the Continental Crown Championship. It does not need to be that title specifically. Copeland's the only babyface champion of the three. So yes, it could be Konosuke for that reason. I'd be also perfectly fine with Malachi Black becoming champion. He has done a whole lot of nothing in AEW in the last 3 years. They were trios champions for a little while. Cool. Beyond that, they really haven't done shit with the House of Black and AEW. Malachi really should be pushed on his own. TNT champion would be perfect. So either one is fine. Takeshita, I don't know. I just feel like with Black, he's at a point now where unless he does something meaningful, he's cooked. You could say he's cooked now as far as like it's impossible to fucking care at this point. But they really need to do something with him. If I had a choice, I would put the belt on Black. Konosuke will have his opportunities. He's largely been booked well. As of late, like the follow-up to the Omega wins was a joke. But, he still has a higher ceiling right now because they haven't exactly fucked him up. Black has been there for 3 years. They have absolutely fucked up whatever push and main event momentum that he had That is almost nearly non-existent now. So I would put the belt on him before Takeshita, but you really can't go wrong with either one. Copeland getting a short run doesn't bother me. It was never really about him becoming TNT champion. It was more about him beating Christian. It just so happened to be for the TNT championship. So he can get a long run. That's fine. But I'd also be fine with him getting a short run and losing it soon to Malachi Black. I think that'd be pretty cool too. Their next question, Chris's next question. With Cody, Damian Priest, Sami, and Bayley crowned new champions, how do you see the rest of the year planned out for all four of them separately, and who do you eventually seeing defeating each? Good question. I think of the four, Cody might be the champion the longest. They're all, Damian Priest is a heel. The other three are baby faces. They don't need to be champions for like an elongated, excessive amount of time. They can all be champions, for on the shorter side because they're baby faces and they can be back in chase mode at some point. Bayley should not lose the belt soon. It depends what the circumstance would be. And it really is all a matter of the draft, too. I think Sami Zayn could lose the championship, and I'd be totally down for him losing the championship next Monday on Raw. In Montreal, it would get a lot of heel heat from the crowd there. Chad Gable goes heel. He wins the championship. Sami Zayn has already been champion 3 other times. This is his 4th run with the Intercontinental Championship. He does not need to be champion for more than a couple of months, even a couple of weeks. It really does not matter. He can be a transitional champion. He got his moment, and that's what matters. So Chad Gable beating him soon would be ideal for me. So Chad for Sami Zayn. Damian Priest, I see losing the belt to Drew McIntyre. Probably a Clash of the Castle. Bayley, I'm not sure. Cody, hopefully not The Rock. Cody and Bayley, I'm not so sure on. Maybe Orton for Cody, but Orton doesn't really need another world title run. As long as you do Cody and Orton at some point, that's what matters. It doesn't need to result in Orton becoming champion, and if it does, it would be brief, like when he beat Drew for the belt 4 years ago. Bayley, maybe Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton's great. I'm going to say Tiffany Stratton beats Bayley for that championship at some point down the road. Micah does it from YouTube. Their first question was, Roman Reigns said if he loses at WrestleMania 40, he's leaving WWE. We know he will eventually be back. When do you think he returns, and what pay-per-view will it be on? And does he return to get revenge on Seth for costing him the title, or does he ultimately go after Cody Rhodes to get it back? I hope he doesn't go after Cody Rhodes. We saw it twice. Nothing is topping that second match that we saw in the main event of 40 the other day, so I would not do a rubber match, maybe much further down the road, but not anytime soon. Maybe as a double turn, maybe when Roman Reigns is a babyface, Cody's a heel, then you can run it back. I'd be okay with that. So you could do that down the road, but not right when Roman comes back. I think Roman should be back around SummerSlam is my prediction, what I think is most likely. He'd be back around SummerSlam, maybe costing Rock the championship inadvertently or on purpose, who knows, against Cody. So Rock doesn't become champion. You set up Rock and Roman for WrestleMania, and you kind of go from there. So that's what I would do. And what pay-per-view? It would probably be at SummerSlam or around SummerSlam season. Maybe he's back before then, and he's at SummerSlam in a match. Who knows? Getting revenge on Seth, that would be cool too. I would be down for that because they never really had a formal feud. They've had a couple different feuds, but they can run that back. They cut their match short at the Rumble a few years ago. There was never any real resolution to that. So run that back. Have Roman Reigns. He could beat Seth or Seth can beat him. Doesn't really matter. But that would be fine. Cody and Rock at SummerSlam and then Roman and Seth. Honestly, I'd be fucking down for that. That sounds cool. Next question of Micah's. Rank these moments from best to worst. Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania, defeating Daniel Bryan to become WWE Champion at WrestleMania 35. 2, Daniel Bryan defeating Batista and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 30 to become WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And 3, Cody Rhodes defeating Roman Reigns to become WWE Champion at WrestleMania 40. Man, all 3 are great. All in 5-year intervals, no less, as well. They really... all 3 are awesome. This is interchangeable. I'm going to go Cody at number 1. You could say Kofi Mania. I'm going to go Kofi Mania over the Bryan moment. Bryan might be the bigger and better moment, but Kofi just had so much significance there. Like one of the first black WWE champions in a very long time. Him having never been WWE champion before, just the way it was done, and the whole Kofi Mania groundswell support for him. I might even put that over Bryan's. Bryan's was the bigger spectacle with everyone cheering and shit, but Kofi's was just amazing. So I might go Cody and Roman, the match and the moment, from 40 at number 1. Kofi Mania 2, WrestleMania 3. You could probably put WrestleMania 2 and I wouldn't argue, but I would still put Cody number 1. I think it's better than both of those moments personally. And you might disagree and you might have a different, attachment to those moments, but I would put Cody and Roman number 1. And also, it just happened. So I have the recency bias, but I think the execution of it and the finality of it and everything else was just amazing. The aftermath, the match itself, all of it was better than the other two matches in the moment. So, at least in my personal opinion. Brandon A. from YouTube, their first question was, he says, "What's up, GSM? Hope you had a fantastic time in Philly this past week. I was so pumped when Cody won on Sunday night. At first, when the pin was counted, I got out of my seat and was pumping my fist in the air. But when I heard Samantha Irvin's announcement, I freaking lost it," he says. "The tears just immediately started pouring out. My new favorite announcer of all time. Just that quick, she took over the Fink. Where does Samantha rate all time for you as a ring announcer? Also, let's see. Also, what, if any, moments in wrestling have moved you to tears or emotionally really got to you? I was also on the brink the day when Sammy won, but I held it together." I think you were talking about, the day before. Yeah, you're talking about WrestleMania that one. Okay. You also said when he was so over in Saudi Arabia after not being able to wrestle there for so many years, also drew me to tears. Yeah, I mean, the Cody one really got me emotional. I mean, the build-up, the video package, the moment itself, and the post-match stuff with his mom was great. I missed it as it happened because I had to rush to the press conference, but seeing it after the fact was beautiful. I thought that was just amazing. So, yeah, that was really, really cool. I love that. That would probably be it. There weren't any other moments really that drew me to tears in wrestling as far as that didn't have to do with deaths or anything like that. It would probably be the Cody one, honestly, might come the closest. But as far as Samantha Irvin goes, she really is amazing. I mean, I don't know if I would put over the Fink quite yet. The Fink's voice is just iconic. Her voice, the way she changes her voice is amazing. Fink is just the epitome of wrestling announcers. I would still probably go Fink 1, but if you wanted to put her 2, that's fine. I mean, she's really proven herself over a long time. Some of the smaller stuff she does, I'm not a big fan of, the Chelsea Green thing I've always thought was stupid, but whatever. The other stuff she does is fine. Her overall ring announcing is amazing. She is phenomenal. She might be number 2. She's definitely better than Lillian Garcia. I like Lillian, but she's definitely better. I always like Justin Roberts. She's better than him. I don't know who else you would put in that conversation, but yeah, she might be number 2, if not number 1. If you said number 1, I get it. But she's got to be here a little bit longer. She's only been here for a few years. Fink was around for fucking 30, 40 years, whatever. She's got to last a long time. And if she does, then she might get that number 1 spot. But so far, she's probably a close number 2 for me. Next question, also from Brandon. Does the build and outcome of WrestleMania 40 make WrestleMania 39 better, knowing that everything worked out to a happy ending? Or does Cody's loss last year still bring it down? I know that you still rate 39 highly, so I only mean this in relative terms. You know what's funny, though? I mean, I wouldn't talk about the overall WrestleManias, because I thought the build for 39 was great, too. The overall build for 39 was really, really good. As good as it was last year, this year might have been even better. It's around the same for me. The loss to Cody, I've said this on record in the last couple of days. Cody losing at 39... Should Roman have won on that show? Yes. Or no, I'm sorry, should Cody have won on that show? Yes. Does him losing make this moment worth it? Yes. I would still say it was worth the wait. I was not all that optimistic. The execution was done in such a way where I'm like, okay, the fact they waited, I'm kind of happy about it. I'm glad they waited. So I can't complain too much. But the Mania itself, it's funny you say that. I think, honestly, Mania 39 was better than Mania 40. 40 might have been the biggest of all time statistically, with all the numbers and shit. I think 39 was still a better overall show. I just feel that way. 40 was great. We've had 4 really good to great Manias in a row now. I think Mania 40 might have been a little bit weaker than Mania 39. 39 had that sour finish, but the overall show was definitely better, I think. Because Night 1 was pretty good. Night 1 last year was just untouchable. Night 2 this year was also very good. Night 1 last year might have been one of the best single events in company history. Even better than Night 2 this year. But the main event this year was better, if that makes sense. So it's tough to say. But yeah, I would probably go with Mania 39 being the better overall event. I mean, the Cody stuff was made worth it, sure. But if you're talking the overall show, 39 was still better. Whether 40 happened or not, 39 was just the superior show. 40 I would not put in the best WrestleManias of all time. I wouldn't, although it was a really good show. Next question, also from Brandon. Several years ago, I asked you at the end of the day, are you a John Cena fan or a Roman Reigns fan? You said that you liked both superstars, but still did not consider yourself a fan. Has that changed over the years, seeing as to where they headed in their respective careers? Actually, it has. I don't know when you asked me that, but it actually has. I've come to respect and appreciate John Cena a lot more than I did probably whenever you asked me that. Do I own a single John Cena shirt? No. But whenever I see him pop up and I can go back and watch his matches, I mean, I always like John, like you said. Am I a John Cena fan? I am. I really enjoy whenever he comes back. Cena's great. And even some of the stuff he's done outside of wrestling has also made me a bigger fan of John Cena as far as his acting and stuff like that. Roman, I am definitely a fan of now. I mean, the Tribal Chief stuff just changed everything as it did for everyone, for a lot of people. And props to those that were already a fan of Roman Reigns. I always liked Roman, but they always misused him, and it was hard to carry a lot of the time. Like, the Tribal Chief stuff has been just on another fucking level. So I am a full-on, blown Roman Reigns fan now. So I am definitely a Roman Reigns fan. A bigger Roman Reigns fan than John Cena, but I'm still a fan of John Cena as well. Because he's, I think time time really is a big factor. Absence makes the heart grow fonder type thing. I've really come to appreciate John Cena and become a big fan of his as well. And his last question, who do you think is on the Mount Rushmore of celebrity wrestlers? I would put Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, and Stephen Amell on there. I don't know the fourth spot. What would be your fourth? And would you replace any of the names I just mentioned? Take care. No, I would not replace any of those. Amell has only done one match, but he was really, really good. And he did this stuff in AEW and Ring of Honor as well. That was also good. I honestly completely forgot about him. I just interviewed him last year, but I forgot about him. I forgot about him as a celebrity wrestler. They've had a lot of celebrities in WWE do wrestling matches. A lot of them have been fucking awful. It would probably be those three. The fourth one has to be Pat McAfee. I mean, if you consider him a celebrity because he works there now as a commentator, but Pat McAfee's been a lot better than anyone gives him credit for. That Adam Cole match a couple of years ago was really, really good. The Theory match at Mania last year or 2 years ago was good. The Baron Corbin match at SummerSlam that same year was also pretty good. I've enjoyed Pat McAfee's matches a lot. So I was kind of bummed that he was in the Rumble for all of like 2 seconds this year. That was kind of stupid. But, I like Pat, so I would put him on there as well. He's probably one of the best at it as far as just being a natural for wrestling. He shouldn't be a wrestler full time, but going in there and having a genuinely good match, he's one of them. So I would put him on there. Bad Bunny, like you said, Logan Paul, and Stephen Amell. That to me is a pretty solid Mount Rushmore in my opinion. No L from Facebook. Their first question was, do you see Cody Rhodes being a fighting champion until he starts to slowly start turning into a heel, becoming so cocky, only to lose the championship at the Royal Rumble or SummerSlam? No, I don't. I mean, it's possible, sure, but even more so than Punk 10 years ago or anyone else that started out as a babyface and turned heel as champion, Cody Rhodes is just the fucking guy. I mean, it's so obvious he's doing far more of this stuff than Punk ever was. How do you build him up as the face of the company and then just turn him heel, especially when you don't really have anyone to replace him? Yeah, Roman Reigns, I think, will be the top babyface at some point, but he's not really around. He's still going to be a part-timer, so he's not the answer either. I wouldn't turn Cody anytime soon. I know we were talking about, maybe by the end of the year. No, I think it's going to be a while. He might be the new Cena where he never turns heel. I think he will at some point because he's such a great fucking heel. But when that time comes, it's going to be glorious, and I don't think it should come anytime soon. Unless they really start to boo the guy and they have to organically move in that direction. Unless that happens, I would not turn him heel anytime soon. Their second question, do you see Liv Morgan dethroning Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam or possibly Jade doing it? I would love to see Liv beat Rhea for the belt. It wouldn't be at SummerSlam. That's not for another 4 months, and they're feuding now. But I would love to see that personally, whether it be a Backlash or whatever. SummerSlam's too far away. Do I think Liv will beat Rhea Ripley? No. Do I want it to be Jade? No. I don't like that idea. That's way too soon for Jade. She's still kind of finding her footing and getting better. She's not ready to win one of the main championships. Maybe at NXT, not on the main roster. So, yeah, I would not have either. I would have Liv beat her for the belt, but I don't see it. I don't see Jade beating her either. I don't know, honestly, who it would be. I really don't. Maybe someone from SmackDown. Honestly, you could do Bianca. I mean, people have said, keep the belt on Rhea for another year and have Bianca face her. I'd be okay with that. I might be okay with that, so maybe Bianca. But beyond that, Liv would be my personal, that's what I would do with Liv Morgan. I would have her be the one to beat Rhea Ripley. I feel like that would be a really cool moment for her. Christopher L. from Facebook, their question was, with the draft recently announced, who do you see making the jump from Raw to SmackDown and SmackDown to Raw? I think Cody, since he's the world champion, should head over to SmackDown with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, while Raw gets the Bloodline, Logan Paul and Carmelo Hayes. Who do you pick as draft picks for both shows? I mean, as we sit here right now, I have no idea. Just because there's just so many different moves that could be made and all this other sort of shit. So I'm not really sure. I think Cody Rhodes might stay on Raw. I was thinking Cody might go to SmackDown as the champion, but I think you can move the entire Judgment Day actually to SmackDown. They've been on Raw for the past 2 years. Move Judgment Day to SmackDown personally. That's what I would do. I would move Legado to Raw. I would move Legado to Raw because we've seen them on SmackDown now for a while, and you can get him away from Rey. I mean, I guess that would rekindle the Judgment Day LWO feud. I mean, I guess that's what necessarily that's what that would do effectively. Maybe you move the LWO to Raw. That would be fine as well, but I like them on SmackDown, so I don't know. Yeah, as far as other moves, I don't know. I'm really not sure. I would really have to look at the rosters as far as what moves would make sense. Like, a lot of the people that are on SmackDown just move to SmackDown. Like, Jade I would keep there. Orton I would keep there. Owens, maybe you can move back. Wherever Cody is, I think you could do something there. Maybe you can switch Logan Paul and Sammy, so you get the United States Championship on Raw. If you do that, then LA Knight has to go to Raw. LA Knight absolutely has to fucking go to Raw. Because if he doesn't, he has to go wherever Logan Paul is and beat him for that championship. That would just be fucking dumb if he doesn't. So I'm hoping LA Knight goes to Monday nights. And we'll see what the rest of the roster as it gets closer. His second question, if you could rebook the Summer of Punk from 2011 all over again, how would you do it? I mean, this is such a loaded question that's worthy of its own video. But in a nutshell, I would keep everything the same from when he announced he was leaving to the pipe bomb up until Money in the Bank. All of that would remain the same. The fallout would remain differently. That would be different. I would have had him show up in other promotions and do what he was kind of teasing and not have him be brought back until closer to WrestleMania. And if he does come back around earlier than expected, I would have kept him as... I mean, he doesn't really have to keep the belt. That wasn't really necessary. Like Del Rio cashed in. Okay, that was fine at the time. At least have him beat Triple H. That was fucking stupid. He never really got one over on him. That was pretty dumb. The Kevin Nash stuff was never blown off. A Nash-Punk feud was never really necessary. So all of that was pretty dumb. Yeah, I would have at least... ideally, though, I would have kept him off the show for a while. I would have kept him off the show for quite a bit. Bring him back around Mania. Actually, no, you couldn't have done that either, though. You couldn't have done that because Punk or Cena was facing Rock. Fuck. Maybe for the Rumble. Maybe you could have done Cena and Punk at the Rumble and just done it there. Done the rematch there. And then kind of figure it out from that point forward. So that's probably what I would have done. Maybe Punk beats Cena in a rematch for the belt at SummerSlam. Because Cena and Rock didn't need the belt at Mania. And then that's when Jericho comes back and attacks Punk. I probably would have done that, though. As opposed to him just coming back 8 days later. That was kind of lame. It was cool at the time, but it felt kind of lame. Next question, also from Christopher. He says, who do you feel would make a more believable world champion, Christopher Daniels or Frankie Kazarian? While I thoroughly enjoyed both men as wrestlers and characters, I always felt Daniels had the most potential as not just a main eventer, but as a world champion. He was able to change up his character and have a quality match with anyone. Not to mention he had a natural charisma as a heel. Frankie was great in his own right, but he was always better as a stablemate or an upper mid-card guy. Who would be your pick? No, I completely agree. I love both guys. If I had to choose which one I was a bigger fan of, it would be Kazarian. But Daniels, to me, was always like world championship material. I mean, maybe not like, how did this guy not become world champion? But he was always so good. Thankfully, he got that world title reign, albeit briefly, in Ring of Honor as the Ring of Honor world champion about 7 years ago. But the fact he was never world champion in TNA, to me, was always fucking stupid. World champion in WWE, probably not, but in AEW, probably not. But TNA, Ring of Honor, to me, were just slam dunks. But yeah, Kazarian was always really, really good. Would he win the world title with all the talent they had there when he was there initially? Yeah, probably not. It would have been cool to see him as world champion, but it wasn't as necessary as Daniels, who to me was an overall better package as a main event guy from an in-ring standpoint, and specifically from a character standpoint and a mic standpoint. I thought he was superior to Frankie Kazarian with that criteria. He was superior. Next question from Christopher as well. Congratulations to the legendary Paul Heyman for not only being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, but cutting one hell of a speech. In your honest opinion, who do you think is the ultimate Paul Heyman guy, Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns? Heyman has had many guys he would manage or stuck his neck out for throughout his career that he would still go on to have friendships with, like Rob Van Dam, The Big Show, Taz, CM Punk, and of course his two closest friends, Brock and Roman. Heyman had such a unique relationships with both men. He was the mouthpiece for an advocate with Brock, and as the wise man for Roman, being the head of the council, and also allowing Roman to speak and creating his aura of the tribal chief. Who do you think, or who rather do you see as the one who benefited the most with Heyman by his side? I told my friend I would choose his work with Brock due to his long history and bond they shared throughout 20 plus years. Who would be your choice? It's a very good question. Of the two, I like the Heyman pairing more with Roman Reigns. He just adds so much to that act. But Tribal Chief Roman Reigns still would work on his own, even without Heyman. So I'm going to say the Brock pairing. And also, he helped put Brock on the map by managing him from the get-go in early WWE. He was with him for 20 plus years, like you said. But it was also the fact that they were together for such a long time. And they were just the quality of work there, because Brock for a long time just couldn't cut promos. He just fucking sucked. So having Paul Heyman there to do that for him really helped and add a lot to his aura and whatnot. The Brock pairing is more beneficial for Brock. Which pairing I enjoy more is the Heyman and Roman pairing, because they just have such great chemistry. As he does with Brock as well, but the Roman one, the way he plays off of him, and he's not as like evil, he's more like, yes, my tribal chief, he's more like submissive, is really fucking funny. So I like the ramen noodle. The Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman pairing more, but I think the Brock one is more beneficial to Brock than Roman Reigns. At noob_n_co TV, what are your thoughts on, or rather, if the Young Bucks release footage from All In on AEW Dynamite this week? What's your thoughts on it, he says. And then he also adds, to me, I'm a little concerned because this might be the straw that'll break the camel's back, or it'll be a troll job to the fans. Either way, I'm optimistically cautious. I think you mean to say I'm cautiously optimistic, but I guess that works too, unless that was your intention. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb that they would even think about doing that. I don't care what sort of storyline it sets up. The incident happened so long ago. Yeah, Punk just talked about it because he was asked about it in an Ariel Helwani show, so what do you expect him to say? He just told his side of the story. So to release the footage now is dumb. To save it for Dynamite is dumb. Just release it online. I'm sure it'll tie into something. But Jack Perry doesn't work there right now. Punk's not going back, so what's the point? It's fucking stupid. His thoughts, or rather, those are my thoughts on that. His second question, he says, your thoughts on Cody Rhodes winning the WWE Undisputed title and beating Roman Reigns. From the presentation standpoint, it feels like a final battle, and I hope that Cody will have a great reign as champion. Yeah, man, I loved everything about it. I thought they did a great job with it. Everything from the execution to the match itself, the run-ins. It was complete fucking chaos in the best way possible, as you would hope for in a moment like that. And it was outstanding. It was really fucking cool. So, yeah, I got to give that one the edge as far as Mania goes. It was great. The edge over what? I don't know, because we're not comparing anything. I'm just tired and I don't know what I'm talking about now. But no, it was a great match. I'm looking forward to Cody hopefully having a pretty good reign as undisputed WWE champion. Hopefully soon to be just WWE champion and get rid of the undisputed bullshit. At JDJCW555, he says, "Hey Graham, hope you had as much fun at WrestleMania 40 as your Twitter timeline suggests. What do you make of WWE reportedly abandoning the term sports entertainment and seemingly embracing being referred to as professional wrestling again? Is this just one of the vestiges of the Vince McMahon era being truly gone, or is this something bigger?" It's awesome, man. I didn't notice that when we were there because we were not hearing the commentary. But I thought that was great. I thought, the fact they kind of hammered that home after the fact was really, really cool. And I think it really is just kind of getting rid of the Vince McMahon stench on the product. Is it a sign of something bigger? If so, what would that be, though? What are you talking about? Like working with other promotions, which I saw was the case and could be the case. Nick Khan wants to do that. Sure, that would be cool. I would be totally down for that. I don't know what else it would be, though, beyond that. What benefit it really has on the company to just call it pro wrestling. I think it's just a case of Vince McMahon hated the term pro wrestling. Let's bring it back. Because sports entertainment is just stupid. It is sports entertainment, but it is just, it's pro wrestling. That's what it is. So I think it's just more of a case of like, hey, fuck you, old man. We're bringing in my era, and we're doing so in spectacular fashion. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine, and on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Check out his content, does great work. His question was, so now that Cody is champion, which brand do you think he will be on when the draft happens? I always thought SmackDown, but I'm thinking Raw now. They're leaving Fox. It won't be the A show, I don't think, anymore. He's always been a Raw guy. He can go to SmackDown. It would be cool. I know he's going to SmackDown on Friday, but not to sign with SmackDown. I think he's going to Raw. That would be my case. He could take the belt to Raw, bring the World Heavyweight Championship to SmackDown, draw Judgment Day to SmackDown. That's what I said previously. And that's what I would do. And if Cody's the guy, I think you need to have the guy on Raw. I know Roman was on SmackDown, but I don't know. The top babyface being on Raw makes more sense to me. So I'm going to say put Cody on Raw, bring Damian Priest and Drew, and whoever wins the World Heavyweight Championship to SmackDown. You can even put Punk on SmackDown, honestly. If you really want to continue that whole thing, I mean, it depends what the draft looks like, but, if you want to continue this whole thing with Punk and Drew and Damian and Seth and whatever, they all got to go to SmackDown, which is fine with me. I would be totally okay with that. His second question, since you were in attendance, I wanted to ask if you think WrestleMania 40 is indeed the quote-unquote greatest of all time, like some have been saying. Personally, I'm not sure it even cracks my top 10, even with the great moments. No, it's definitely, to me, in top 10. The overall show is great. Best WrestleMania ever? I wouldn't say that. Best WrestleMania main event? Yes, I would say that, I think. I would make that argument. I enjoyed that match a lot. That was a lot of fun. Best WrestleMania ever? Probably not. I thought 39 was better than 40. I would put that. It was one of the best WrestleManias ever, personally. Up there with 17. 40 it would probably be top 10. I don't know where in the top 10, but it would be up there just for how great some of the satisfying finishes were and how it really felt like a new era. But I thought it was a great show. Greatest ever? No. Biggest ever statistically, I guess. But it was a really, really fun show regardless overall. The next question from the Average Grunt on Twitter. Do you think we will get new WWE and World Tag Team title belts before or after SummerSlam? I hope we get a new WWE title belt. I'm not expecting it because we just got this new one a year ago. I mean, I guess Vince was still technically there, but I mean, it would be nice if we get a new belt. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. So that, and then what was the other question? Oh, the World Tag Team titles. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, if they got rid of the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team title, or SmackDown Women's Championship shit, then I think they'll do the same with the tag titles, so they can swap brands and it wouldn't really matter. So, yeah, get rid of the red and blue. That shit was always dumb. Bring in new tag title belts. Bringing back the old ones would be sweet, but they're not going to do that. The red ones, the oval-shaped ones that they had in the early 2000s, that's what I'm talking about. I feel like that'd be really cool to have those back, but I'm not expecting it, like I said. At Wheeljack83, Jeffrey's question was from Twitter. How does Damian Priest escape the stigma of being the lesser mid-card world champion? They got to book him strong. He really has not been booked all that strong for a while. They got to have him beat top-level guys, not just do it because someone else interfered like Punk. It was great for that night, but that can't be a common occurrence going forward. He's got to beat Jey Uso decisively. He's got to beat people like Rollins and McIntyre. I mean, he might have a shorter run. I don't really think he's bound to hold the belt for long. I mean, it's better than him not holding it at all. But they got to book him strongly because he's been a lower mid-card guy for a while, or just a solid mid-card guy. And that's good, but it's not really befitting of becoming a world champion if you just put the belt on the guy out of nowhere. Was it completely out of nowhere? No, but it's not like they really built up Damian at all in the last couple of months. He's been picking up wins here and there, but he still doesn't feel like a genuine threat compared to Seth or Drew and Punk and Cody, stuff like that. So, That's how you would escape the stigma, by just booking him better. I think it's as simple as that. At Iwagu91, final 3 questions here. Your thoughts on Jacob Fatu finally signing with WWE? I'm stoked. Fatu is great. I think he's really, really talented from what I saw him in MLW. I don't know where he factors into the Bloodline stuff. I would put him there, though. I would not put him on NXT first, in my opinion. Fatu should have been in WWE a while ago. He was in MLW for a while, so that's why. But, yeah, I just think he'll be a great asset. If he could stay clean and stay the course, then I think he'll have a very bright future in WWE. He is better than, I think he is the best wrestler of the Bloodline. More than Solo, the Usos, even Roman Reigns. I think he is the best in the ring. The guy is fucking great. So I'm very happy he signed, and hopefully they can put him into the Bloodline stuff imminently. Very, very soon. Second question, also from at Iwagu91. With Braun and Baron's NXT Tag Team title reign now over, Does this mean that Breaker will join SmackDown full-time now? Yeah, I think it does, unless he gets drafted to Raw. But yeah, I think he's done in NXT. From what it sounded like, he is indeed done there full-time, so he won't be coming back. But yeah, I don't know what you do with him immediately going forward, but I do think he is indeed done in SmackDown, or done in NXT, onto SmackDown now. And I would not, like I said earlier, reunite the Wolf Dogs right away on SmackDown and keep the team going. I would have Braun do his own thing on Friday nights. And his last question, very fucking random for today's episode, but he asked it, so here's the answer. His question was, is it easy to forget that Layla and the Hart Dynasty were the last to hold the original women's and tag team titles respectively? The last tag team titles. I don't know what you're talking about. Women's tag team title? Or no, the Hart Dynasty. I'm such a fucking idiot, man. You're talking about, I was thinking just Layla. Again, this is how you know I'm tired. Yeah, it is easy to forget. Layla is indeed the final women's champion under that banner before they got rid of it and merged it with the Divas Championship, so you're right on that. And then for the Hart Dynasty, yeah, they were the final, like, they unified the tag titles back at WrestleMania, or no, I'm sorry, Carlito and Primo did at Mania 25, and then they won them, and they would carry around all the belts for a while. They finally created new belts, those stupid-looking belts, later on in 2010. But yeah, they were the final team to hold those championships. And then as soon as they got the new belts, they dropped them right to Cody Rhodes and Drew, surprisingly, the very next night. Or not the very next night, but the very next month at that Night of Champions show. So very easy to forget because a lot of people don't remember those reigns. And why would you? Because they really weren't all that special. And that's going to do it, guys, for today's edition of #AskGSM, the post-WrestleMania episode, number 541. We'll be back next week with more questions and answers from yours truly. So if you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Have an awesome one, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.